remember, people's pensions are balanced on those markets, and those markets just look increasingly risky. And it's no wonder that you're seeing gold prices that are just going up and up and up, because people don't know what to do. They don't know where to go, what to invest in. People have lost their minds. They have no idea what is going on in the world right now. And I'm going to try and break it down to you in this video. You know, right now there is so much uncertainty. There is so much polarization. You're seeing a breakdown of the West accelerating at a rapid pace. Basically, countries are trying to boycott the United States, which is absolutely hilarious, because those countries are also on an IV line to the United States, but political people want you to believe that the United States, we can just boycott it and the world is going to be a better place because United States foreign policy has got so bad. And the foreign policy has got bad in the United States. It's clear the administration in charge doesn't even know what they're going to do one day to the next. You've got egos that are at stake here, and that means that people are going to suffer. People are going to suffer massively as a result of this. You're already seeing that shipping to the United States, the bookings are down like 40–50%. This is going to have a huge impact for the global economy, and not in a good way. It's going to send the United States into a depression. And if you haven't heard the old cliche of when the United States sneezes, the whole world catches a cold, well, just think how bad it's going to get with the United States heading into a literal depression, and how that's going to affect the world, because shelves are going to be empty. People can't afford to pay these high import taxed goods that aren't even going to be coming into the country. And you've got countries that are trying to boycott the United States. You've got tensions that are rising everywhere. And the rules-based order that the world used to have in place for trade and relations has all gone down the drain, or at least it seems that way. The thing you have to ask the question, has it always been like this? It's just with Trump and the new administration in the United States, have they finally removed that facade that was in place, and they're actually just showing you the reality is that the United States doesn't have allies, it just has interests. And that was said by somebody famous, I don't know who it is, but it is very true. And you're seeing with things like what's happening in Nicaragua and the heightened tensions there, because they were buddying up with China to then build another canal that would rival the Panama Canal. And then you've got obviously US Marines now in Panama, and none of these things are good. They're not good at all. In fact, they just show how tensions are rising and how we're heading more and more to World War III, because as anti-US sentiment builds around the world for a falling superpower, it is a toxic combination with a polarized population. You see, unlike the UK, when the UK was a global superpower, the United States is very different. You see, whether you like the United States or not, I'm not here to debate that. But the fact is, when you look at the United States has vast landscapes. You can go to pretty much any climate in the United States. It's got amazing national parks, so you don't really need to leave the United States. So people within the United States are not that well traveled, and that means that they're just easier to polarize. The media can be used more and more as a weapon in that country, and propaganda can become rife. Trump hasn't done everything bad. There are things that he will do which are actually good, and it's important to make that distinction, because just blindly think that Trump is the worst person in history, he should be in jail and all these different things. And I'm not saying that he shouldn't be in jail or anything like that, but I'm saying that not everything that Trump does is bad. And really you see it with what's happening in the Ukraine-Russia conflict. Basically with Trump, he's just removed the facade that the American people no longer care about supporting the Ukraine war anymore. Whether people want to accept that or not is an entirely different thing, but that's the reality, and that's why they are putting more and more pressure of what is the United States going to get out of the Ukraine when they are sending all this military equipment. And a lot of people don't understand that it's actually just they're renewing their military equipment and they're sending their old military equipment. That's what most of it is. It's not like they're purchasing brand new weapons and then sending them over there, although there is a little bit of that because they want to test them out. As sad as it is, they want to see how they stand up against weapons from Russia, for instance, in a battleground. And that is what they're going to use Ukraine as, just a proving ground. And it has been used as a proving ground for the past couple of years. And the country has been decimated. And I was watching recently a Bold and Bankrupt video where he went to Ukraine. And the funny thing was, you know, you had all this virtue signaling that was going on in the West that was boycotting everything Russian. You know, they were getting rid of Russian professors. They were doing all kinds of just ridiculous things for virtue signaling reasons. And then you look at what Ukraine did. Ukraine didn't even get rid of any of those things. And even they understand and they say that it's not all Russians who are bad. Anybody in the West would believe the complete opposite. You know, this is the problem. It's just people are blindly polarized right now and they're unable to think. There are a lot of people who are just brain dead. They are brain dead, and it's so frustrating because they are just unable to put aside whether they like that person or not and just listen to what they're saying. They have to be like, oh, I don't like that Trump guy. Trump, everything he says is a fucking load of garbage. Not true. And you know, just like Justin Trudeau, he said a lot of crap, but he was right on some things as well. You have to hand it to these people when they do get things right. Even if most of what they do is getting things wrong, you just can't blanketly assume that everything somebody does is bad because you don't like that person. And unfortunately, that's the reality that we're getting into. And it's very dangerous because this is the reality that built up in the Great Depression. And you've got an environment that I think, unfortunately, is beginning to look more and more like it will be a Great Depression. So then what is that going to mean in 10, 15 years? Is that going to mean that there's going to be World War III? And that's the question that you really have to ask. And you really have to ask, well, am I safe if there is World War III? You have to say, what options do I have if the world breaks out into World War III? And you know, a lot of places that people would have thought were peaceful, places like Panama, places like Nicaragua, places like the Philippines, are obviously going to be points where there could be a lot of military intervention and where the United States has a lot of interests in. And really, it is a global shakeup that's going on right now. And I never thought or wanted to believe that World War III was even possible. And the one thing is, I never thought that there would be a global type depression like in the 1930s. But more and more, it's just becoming obvious that this is going to be a theme because you are seeing the market gyrations like never before. Like in the stock market, one day it's down like 9-10%, the next day it's up like 5%, then it's down like 5-10% again. I mean, these sort of days of volatility are absolutely insane, and you have to remember people's pensions are balanced on those markets, and those markets just look increasingly risky. And it's no wonder that you're seeing gold prices that are just going up and up and up because people don't know what to do. They don't know where to go, what to invest in, so they're just going more and more into gold as a safe haven. And really, the entire financial system right now is based still on the US dollar, whether people want to believe it or not, whether people want to say, oh, the US is just falling, everybody's selling their government debt, and it's going to be the end of the US just like that. It's not going to happen. That's not the way the system works. In fact, if people started just selling all their US debt, there's going to be people who are going to step in and buy that for dollar cash flow. It's just the way the monetary system is set up. Again, just because you hate the United States does not mean that you shouldn't try and understand how you can benefit from this, how you can possibly protect yourself against the rising threat of World War III, which I think is becoming more and more a possibility because of just blind stupidity across the board. And mainly this stupidity, unfortunately, unfortunately stems from people in the population, because it's the people in the population who've got to stop getting polarized, who've got to think critically, who've got to actually come together in order to stop this in a unanimous way. Otherwise, it will end in tears, it will end in massive amounts of blood being spilled, and it will be an absolute disaster. And I just sincerely hope that people are able to realize what dangerous times we really live in right now, and how everybody should be thinking, what if? Because really, the situation is deteriorating faster and faster and faster. Just look at what's happening with China and the US. So we'll have to continue to see what happens here. Anyway, this was my rant. I'm so pissed off, and I've had enough of all this shit. And I just wanted to put it in a video for you guys so you can see my frustration and probably your frustration as well. So anyway, I will see you in the next video.